Hello everybody, and welcome to your full moon video for the full moon in Jyeshtha Nakshatra of the 9th of June 2017. The moon will be full at about 9.5 minutes, about 9.5 minutes, right? It's kind of like contradictory, about, and 9.5. I mean, most people would just kind of tell you, like 10 minutes past 2 or, something like that. But, here I am going 9.5 minutes past 2, right? That's UK time. And if you want to look and see when that might be in your own particular time zone, you can find the time converter, I'm sure, somewhere online. So let's talk about how important it is to have a sense of perspective. Sometimes we get tangled up in a web of illusion, and rather than stop and take a look and try to understand exactly what might be going on and exactly what might be going wrong, and exactly what we might not be seeing too clearly. Instead, we just struggle and struggle and struggle and struggle and dig ourselves deeper in. And really, a web is kind of an apropos comment for it, because that's what happens with spiders' webs. You see, you get stuck in them, and the more you struggle, the more deeply entangled in the web you become. And somewhere in your life, you're dealing with a particular situation like that because there's a change that you're really wanting to affect or to make come into being. And obviously so, because you've got a lot of honor attached to the circumstances, right? And as you are trying to make this shift and as you're trying to push forward, it seems like things just get more and more conflagrant, and more, intense, more and more passionate. And it seems like it's just kind of wheels are spinning and you're not really getting anywhere, right? So what do you need to do? Well, you need to kind of take a step back from this particular situation. Let's talk a little bit about the aspects that are going on with this particular full moon, because that may help to give you a little more perspective. And this full moon will be taking place within about 6 degrees of Saturn. And Saturn is very narrow-minded. Why? Because Saturn's the planet that is focused on survival. It's focused on our physical survival. It's focused on survival of the ego. And so when Saturn really sets its mind along a particular line of thinking, it just continues along that particular line of thinking many times to its own demise. Right? And, Saturn is really having, in terms of how it's influencing things in the moment, is really having this strong desire to take action, right? And so it's focusing along particular lines because Saturn's in Mula Nakshatra. It keeps pushing and pushing in a very determined, slow and steady over time way of going, at some point there's going to be a breakthrough, but really there can't be any other way to have a breakthrough than this way that I'm seeing of having a breakthrough. Well, the moon in Jyeshtha Nakshatra is asking you to kind of step back and take a look at things for perspective. And what's really helpful about this particular situation is that as the moon is full in Jyeshtha Nakshatra, it's also being aspected by Mercury, which is associated with Jyeshtha Nakshatra. And Mercury itself is in Rohini Nakshatra. Now, Rohini likes to foster growth along particular lines, but maybe with this particular situation, there's been less adaptation to the set of circumstances and more focus on determination. And quite often we end up in these circumstances where we think that we're going to be able to achieve a breakthrough by force of will, or just applying ourselves more strongly, when in reality what is actually more necessary is to have a wider vision of actually what it is that we're dealing with. Jyeshtha Nakshatra tends to have that particular focus. It's on one level about, rising above a set of circumstances, but rising above that set of circumstances not by will alone, but through sharpness of perception, through intelligence, through discretion, right? At the same time, all this is going on, there's also an aspect between the sun and Saturn, and that's kind of adding this whole concept of honor. And this sense of honor is attached to a particular set of ideals that you really have a strong desire to see realized, right? And those ideals are one of the things that is propelling your need for a shift, your need for a change. And it may actually be that you kind of have to take things apart, put them back together again, take things apart, put them back together again several different times before you finally come up with a really good solution to the set of circumstances that you're dealing with. The sun is in Jyeshtha Nakshatra, which is connected to Mars. Mars itself is forming a connection with Jupiter. But Mars is creating this energy that itself is just kind of narrowly mindedly focused along a particular line of thinking due to Mars's transit of Ardra Nakshatra. And it's going, I must, in moving forward, work in this particular manner. But guess what? Working in that particular manner, it's just wearing you out, because all that you're doing is you're trying the same thing over and over and over again. And that same thing that you're trying is leading you nowhere. So you've got to try to take a look at things from a different perspective in order to create the much desired and much needed shift that you really need to take place in your life. So again, it's not going to happen through will alone. It's not going to happen through determination alone. But all of these planets that are connected in this particular set of circumstances, all the ones I've just been mentioning, you can make all of those work in harmony with each other. First of all, you need to adapt to the set of circumstances that you're dealing with. The way to adapt to that set of circumstances is to try to see what you're dealing with a little more clearly and use that wisdom that you're gaining, that perspective that you're gaining from the situation, to make some much needed adjustments to the situation, rather than letting Saturn focus on that determination along certain lines. Let Saturn instead be disciplined, right? Let Saturn exercise proper judgment. Let Saturn be patient, right? Let Saturn, rather than wanting to, in a very mula type of way, get to the root of something by pushing hard against the limits that are restraining it, let Saturn instead go, well, I want to get to the root of understanding exactly what it is that I'm dealing with, and take a clearer look at that, and have that be the impulse that's guiding the situation. As per Mars in the situation, well, if you're getting exhausted, you're doing something wrong, right? Sometimes we think we can only work with one set of tools in order to get a job done, when in reality, there are many more tools at our disposal. And so sometimes we're working with faulty information. And when we're working with that faulty information, we kind of put a lot of will, a lot of strength, a lot of impetus behind it in order to achieve what it is that we're trying to achieve. And like, as we've been talking here, it ends up going nowhere, right? But when you have the right information, when you have the right perspective, when you've made the right changes, right, then you have the right tools to work with the situation that you're dealing with. And that necessary sun honor, right? Well, it's better to take your time, do something right. Sure, if you need to kind of revamp things over and over again, that's fine. That's actually helpful to the situation. But don't do it in such a haphazardly manner, and don't do it in such a forceful manner, and don't let your sense of honor be attached to a specific outcome. In your head, you see that things can only go one way, right? When in reality, things can go several different ways and still go in a very suitable direction and still create much desired change that kind of get you out of the set of circumstances that you're dealing with. So let go of your need for things to be this way, that way, or any other way, rather than kind of going back to the drawing board and going, I'm not getting the result that I want from the actions that I'm taking. Well, instead, desire a different result, but a different result that's the same. And that sounds contradictory, doesn't it? But no, it's not. Refine the essence of what it is that you're actually looking for, rather than being so attached to the details. And that's something that's going to help you with the shift that you're trying to create. And if you'd like a little bit of help with any particular changes that you're going through, I should remind you that I do offer several levels of astrological service that are available through my website. You should see a link somewhere in the video, sometime around the time that I'm saying this. That's going to do it for your full moon video for the full moon of the 9th of June, 2017. Until next time, please take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.